back with chapter 19 of Frostheart, which is called The World Sings. The next morning, Ash awoke abruptly to someone shaking his arm. What is it? Ash squinted in the darkness of the tent. He could just about make out Tobu's imposing figure crouched above him, filling the entire space. Come, Tobu said. He was already dressed in his armour. Where? Ash asked, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Your lessons, Tobu said. Ugh, not again. The sun isn't even up, Ash protested, gripping onto his sleeping furs as if his life depended on it. We have been through this. Will the captain's chores teach you how to concentrate and focus on your powers? Will scrubbing the decks enlighten you to the secrets of the world weave, to allow you to open your heart and soul to the eternal wisdom of nature itself? No, but breakfast might. Get up. With considerable effort, Ash shambled on deck, where he was greeted by a terrible grinding sound. His mind was still acting sluggishly in the cold morning air, and it took him a moment to realise the sunstone engine was not breaking down, and that the awful sound was, in fact, snoring coming from Captain Nook's tent. He hadn't slept well again. Instead of dreaming, his mind was racing, trying to solve the riddle of the Frostheart, the beacon. It was important, and yet, for the life of him, Ash couldn't figure out what it meant. And what it might have to do with crows, shadows, and a prism was anyone's guess. Tobu nodded to the crew at one shift, but ignored Shard, who was still feverishly reading at his workbench. Shard looked up with interest at Ash and Tobu. Those histories on the world before must be seriously riveting, Ash thought, to keep him up all night. Shard knows lots about song weavers, said Ash, looking over at the mysterious man. He'd much rather have lessons from him. He travels the world collecting information on them, and he said that he would teach me. No. Ash gave Tobu an incredulous look. What do you mean, no? Shard is obsessed with the world before, and the unnatural relics of that accursed age. I do not trust him. The shadow he casts is longer than most. Tobu's eyes narrowed, and he huffed a low growl in Shard's direction. I can teach you all you need to know. Shard's shadow didn't look any bigger than anyone else's to Ash, but he didn't argue. But what can you teach me about my power? He asked. He knew Tobu was a formidable warrior, but what could he know about song weaving? Much. I chose the warrior's path of discipline and the defence of my land, yes, but all Yeti have a close connection to the sacred energy that runs through the world, Tobu explained. I've mentioned it before, though perhaps not by name. It is life and death. It is balance. Human king call it Mother Nature. We Yeti call it the world weave, and it is what we Yeti dedicate our lives to understanding and defending. All things have a voice, a song. It's the primal force binding us together as one. It felt far too early for this. Ash hadn't even had his breakfast, but he couldn't deny he was interested. Everything has its own way of connecting with the world weave. The Yeti connect to it through focus and meditation. Song weaving happens to be the way of the human kin. Now sit, Tobu said, setting himself back down on the deck in a meditative pose. Ash sat beside his guardian. I never knew song weaving was a connection to nature. It's better than being called a monster lover, at least. Close your eyes, Tobu instructed. Breathe. Focus. Ash obeyed. Everything has a song, from the smallest stone to the mightiest Leviathan. You must learn how to hear them all. Only then you will be able to truly communicate with the Leviathans, to express your true self through your song. If you can connect to it, the world weave can offer you guidance. Now, be silent. Listen. I don't really understand how being quiet will help my singing, but if it means that much to Tobu, then I'm willing to give it a go, Ash thought. Everything has a song? Well then, let's hear it, world. Ash took a deep breath, imitating Tobu, and closed his eyes. He tried to clear his mind and strained his ears to hear the song, any song. He heard the groaning of the Frostheart's timbers, the creaking of the rigging above, and the billowing of the sails, and then he heard... Wait, what was that? Was it nature's song? No, he realised. It was Cobb, letting out a long, drawn-out, pitch-perfect fart. Ash burst out laughing. A growl of warning rumbled from within Tobu's chest, and Cobb realised he had work to do at the far end of the sleigh that couldn't wait. Concentrate, Tobu said. Clear your mind. Listen to the rhythm of your heartbeat, slow and steady. Ash took a deep breath and tried to follow Tobu's advice. He could hear the wind rushing by, the hiss of the snow as the Frostheart cut through it, Tobu's breathing. He had an itch. I said focus, boy, Tobu said, his voice getting more cross. The songs of the world weave will not come to you. You must listen for them. I'm trying. It's difficult to focus when you keep interrupting me. Tobu sighed. If you practiced, you would find it easier. You must shape yourself into the weave. Find the voices within. Only then can you become part of it and join your song with nature. He might as well have been talking in another language for all Ash understood. Ash's frustration was quickly matching Tobu's. He scrunched up his eyes, a frown creasing his brow, and he listened. He tried to concentrate. I'm all ears, world. Whenever you're ready. He tried to relax and focus and opened one eye to take a look at Tobu, who was looking right back at him, his arms folded and more than a little bit exasperated look on his face. I once knew a boy like you, Tobu said. He was impulsive and reckless and wouldn't listen to advice. His voice was getting angrier. He always thought he was right, did what he wanted, and do you know what happened to him? Was this boy an old student of yours by any chance? Came Shard's wry voice, interrupting. If you treat all of your pupils like this, I'm not surprised they turn against you. Tobu glared daggers at Shard. Do not tell me how to give my lessons. Shard put up his hands as in surrender. I wouldn't dream of it. Then a sly grin slid across his face, and he seemed to turn his voice towards Ash. Although, while you mention it, I must disagree with what you're teaching. Song weaving is a thing of freedom and passion, of strength and power, not a thing of rules. Ash wondered if this was true. He certainly always felt a kind of freedom when he was song weaving. How can one learn to sing if you silence them? Shard asked. It is vital Ash first learns control. Unrestrained passion and power burn like a raging inferno, consuming all in its path, Tobu replied, looking at Shard with distaste. Exactly. Song weaving is the best weapon we have in the fight against the Leviathans. Song weaving should be used for the benefit of humankin, not singing snow shanties for the trees and rocks, Shard said. Leviathans are of this world, the same as we are. Song weaving should be used to try and understand them, not to fight them, retorted Tobu. Ash contemplated his guardian. He'd never heard anyone speak of Leviathans in any other way than with hatred, fear and blame, and for good reason. Thanks to my song, I've actually felt what Leviathans think, and there's no understanding there, only fury. Ash caught himself mid-thought. He supposed he had managed to reason with them with his song, but surely that was down to the power of his song, not because the Leviathans actually understood him. Shard laughed at Tobu's comment, shaking his head. There are no discussions to be had with monsters. Perhaps I should teach Ash some lessons from now on. You could even go back to bed, Tobu. Rest up for another day of swabbing the decks and sharpening your spear. I think not, Tobu said. Ash has much to learn, and I will not rest until he does. Shard looked at Ash and shook his head with sympathy. Under his breath, Ash let out a groan of despair. It's the end of the chapter.